Another group of students has been abducted in northern Nigeria, while anger grows against the government. But what's behind this recent rise in kidnappings, and how challenging are they to President Muhammadu Buhari? This is Inside Story. Hello, welcome to the program. I'm Hashem Ahelbarra. Nigeria's school kidnappings have become a major security challenge for its government and security forces. At least 700 students have been abducted in northern states since December, and that figure is changing every day with reports of more attacks and abductions. Dozens of students managed to escape a raid on Monday, while their 3 teachers were taken. It happened in the northwestern Kaduna state, and it's the first such attack on a primary school. Armed gangs, locally known as bandits, are suspected. They usually seek lucrative ransom to release the victims, but the government denies paying any money. President Muhammadu Buhari is facing mounting criticism for the rise in violent crime. Let's take a look at some of the attacks that happened in the past few months. Many of the victims have since been released. More than 300 boys were abducted from a school in Katsina State in December. In February, there were 2 mass abductions within 10 days that killed at least 1 student. And earlier this month, 39 students were reported missing after an attack on a college in the northwestern Kaduna State. The number of kidnappings in Nigeria has risen since Boko Haram's 2014 abduction of hundreds of schoolgirls in Chibok. Many of them are still missing. Al Jazeera's Ahmed Idris has been following this story for months. He has this update from Kaduna.
Banditry and kidnappings for ransom in northern Nigeria has now become big business, the biggest, of course, the fastest growing criminal enterprise in Nigeria. Right here is a school where 5 days ago, 39 students were kidnapped, although 180 have been rescued on day 1 after they were taken. We've gone through the school, around the school, and saw how these infiltrators or attackers launched into the school. Now, the government of Kaduna State says it's not negotiating with the criminals, and it insisted that the military option is the best option to deal with criminality in northern Nigeria. Meanwhile, parents here in Kaduna State, parents of students taken and still missing from this institution, are still asking for the government to do whatever is necessary to bring their children back home. Now, the problem of insecurity in northwestern Nigeria and other parts of Nigeria as well is because of a lack of proper funding of the security forces. They're understaffed, under-equipped, and of course under-motivated, according to some security analysts. And also another factor being outlined by certain individuals, certain security analysts in Nigeria, is the issue of negotiating with criminals to release hostages. A lot of people feel that this is encouraging more and more people to go into the criminal activity, knowing full well that in the end it's either a safe passage is negotiated for them, or they are paid ransom in huge amounts so that they can go back and rearm and launch more sophisticated attacks. For now, Nigeria is dealing with so many problems, and this problem is really spreading fast across northwest Nigeria, across the rest of the north, across central Nigeria, and it's moving and taking roots in the south of the country as well. Ahmed Idris for Inside Story.
Let's bring in our guests, all of whom are joining us from Nigeria. In Abuja, Mike Ejiofor is former director of Nigeria's State Security Service. In Lagos, Dele-Adedeji, a research fellow at the University of Edinburgh's Center for African Studies. Also in Abuja, Anyete Iwang, researcher at Human Rights Watch. Warm welcome to you all. Mike, what is happening in Kaduna? Has it become the breeding ground for armed groups and bandits?
Well, so it seems, and it's quite unfortunate that such incidents are taking place on a continuous series of attacks, especially on schools. And what one could ask, what is responsible for this upsurge in the attacks on schools? You recall that the state governments in the northwest of Nigeria, like Zamfara, Katsina, and Kaduna State, earlier declared intention to negotiate with the bandits. And Nigerians were also, because of the rising wave, calling for the change of the leadership in the military, in our security agencies, which was effected by government. And the federal government has come up with a position that they are no more ready to negotiate with bandits, which is the normal thing to do. So I think that must have provoked the bandits to taking such dastardly and condemnable act against Nigerian citizens. Before
we go into detail with that particular issue of settlements with the bandits in the northwestern parts of the country, we have seen a pattern being established in northwestern Nigeria with all those bandits moving forward, attacking elementary and primary schools. And the question is, normally you should expect the police and the army to be deployed, launch preemptive attacks, gather intelligence, and prevent such incident from happening, which doesn't seem to be the case here.
Absolutely, Hashem. And I think it calls for a closer scrutiny of the entire security architecture of the country. I think so far the only appreciable tactic that the current administration has taken to stem this current tide of attacks and abductions of individuals at learning institutions in the north of Nigeria has been to swap and change security chiefs, which itself is a sign that the government's just run out of ideas on how to deal with this, because so far we have seen that the swapping or changing of security chiefs has done little, if nothing at all, to stop this spate of abductions. And so I think the security architecture of the country has to be looked at quite studiously, I would say.
And yet, to put this into perspective, we're talking about the northwestern part of the country. Millions of people now are affected in Zamfara, Kaduna, Katsina, Sokoto, and elsewhere. This is huge, and this requires a state initiative, which doesn't seem to be the case also here.
Absolutely. I think we often talk about the dynamics of the conflicts or the restiveness in these areas, but we hardly, really put a lens at the human impact beyond the abductions of these children, which in essence are tragic and should be stopped. But I think it's the wider impact on society, parents who would fear to send their children to school, state governments who have no choice but to shut down schools. And there needs to be a lot of attention paid on what this will do for education, for access to education. In the northern part of the country, where the literacy rate is already very low. As you may know, Nigeria has the highest number of out-of-school children anywhere in the world, and about 70% of the 10.5 million students who are out of school in this country are in the north. So when we look at, the immediate impact on families, we look at parents who are afraid for the safety and security of their children, parents who are afraid that they will never have their kids come back after they've been abducted. We also look at this wider impact that is more telling for, the socioeconomic consequences for families and individuals living in that state or in these states.
Mike, are we talking here just about bandits controlling those areas in northwestern part of the country, or are we talking about different key players now stepping in, particularly groups affiliated with the Islamic State in the Greater Sahara, the ISGS and Al-Qaeda affiliate, and some splinter groups of Boko Haram itself?
Well, for now, there is no basis. There's not been any established link between the Boko Haram or the ISIS with these bandits. But continuous attack on schools we kind of link them because Boko Haram, if you recall, says that Western education is forbidden. So if you juxtapose this, there could be a link that they are working together. And don't also forget that there was an attack which Boko Haram claimed responsibility. Eventually, the bandits denied that the Boko Haram was not responsible for that attack. But I think their intention is just to create fear and panic by these bandits, to discredit government and make government unpopular. Because I think if they have come on table to say, yes, this is what we want. I was arguing with somebody the other day, was saying that, yes, these people need to be talked to, they need to be negotiated with. And I say, well, before you talk of negotiation, they must come to the table to say, yes, this is exactly what we want. They have not been able to come up on table to say, yes, we have a problem that government needs to address. All they are saying is that unemployment, that they need to be employed, but getting people employed cannot result to attacking innocent citizens, especially children who are future leaders and scaring people away from school, which is their intention.
We need to get into the root causes of this particular problem now in the northwestern part of the country. This has started years ago with the traditional fight between the herders and the farmers. And armed men took advantage of the chaotic situation there and the sense of impunity which was prevailing and gathered themselves and formed the bandits that we see operating on the ground now. What do you think should be done to tackle this particular problem? It looks on the surface as if this is something about bandits. It doesn't seem to be the case.
Yes, thank you, Hashem. I think if I had the answer to this current crisis, I'd probably run for president because it's just metastasized into something far greater than anyone could have anticipated a couple of years ago. I think there's an intersection of issues. I think about 5 or so years ago, when it was just a singular issue, of the conflict between the herders and the farmers, then it was a bit easier to address. But then there are a couple of other hypotheses that are being put out there at the moment, a couple of other narratives are being put out there at the moment about also the inclusion of people related or connected to artisanal mining taking place in the northwestern region of Nigeria and in other parts of Nigeria that have become hubs for abductions and clashes as well between herders and quote unquote indigenes and others and residents indigenous to these parts of Nigeria. And so I think it's become a bit more complicated now than just say between herders and farmers. But of course, the issue, the topic of land scarcity, and of course the encroachment of the Sahara on arable land in Nigeria and Nigeria's middle belt region is also definitely still remains the central topic in this grand narrative, I'd say.
And then comes, and this is going to be my question to Aniete, then comes illegal mining in that particular area. And the rush to take control of gold mines has resulted in people establishing themselves in some sort of a mafia operating on the ground. So powerful, so influential that the government is basically doing nothing to stop them. So you put this together with the farmers, herders issue, with the bandits coming together, no one will be able to tackle this problem.
I mean, you're absolutely right. It is an enormous problem. Like Ini pointed out, there are no immediate solutions that come to mind. But I think two things for me are very important. And we've seen the Nigerian authorities fail on these two things. The first of which is, really ensuring accountability for attacks against citizens, whether it's by militias or it's by these powerful bandit groups or it is by, people who run these artisanal mining infrastructure, whatever the case, if there is a sense that when such attacks happen, whether it's kidnapping or it's cattle rustling or it's just pillaging, that there are arrests, that people are prosecuted, that communities see that justice is being done, and more people are not forced to, take up arms to protect themselves and, in essence, form their own militias and carry out other crimes. I think we would see some sort of headway in terms of deterrence. People will know that there are consequences for their actions, and they will not continue with the sort of impunity. I mean, we've had over 5 mass abductions since December. That is scary. That is, these are numbers that we shouldn't just brush away. And it definitely is one that the authorities have a duty to tackle. And then, of course, we also have a situation where there are these underlying causes that many of the other speakers have spoken about. There's a lot of poverty in many of these communities. There's a total lack of government presence in terms of provision of basic necessities and infrastructure. And this often puts citizens at odds with the government. There is a sense of hatred and bitterness even that pushes many individuals to the brink of committing these crimes and forming these groups that become also powerful, that they threaten peace and security in these places.
All right. Mike, as a former director of Nigeria's State Security Service, would just like you to get us closer to the mindset of the security apparatus in your country. Normally, when a nation faces such a challenge, the leader of the nation talks to the top generals and police officers and says, this is an ultimate act of humiliation for our nation and this must stop. Therefore, zero tolerance. What is happening in your country is totally the opposite. Local politicians, army, police officers offering bribes, incentives, vehicles, tracks and amnesties for the bandits under one condition: stop those attacks. What happens the next day is more attacks and more abductions.
Yeah, I have always condemned this issue of compensation, so to speak, or negotiation with the bandits.
Who would you blame?
Because if you continue,
who would you blame?
If you continue in that direction, well, for now, the state government should be blamed for that because they took the initiative of negotiating with the bandits. Now that the federal government has come up to say no more negotiation with the bandits, and some of the state government, like Kaduna State, for instance, is recanting of negotiating with bandits. I think that's responsible for the upsurge. So what we need to do in terms of security management is for our security agencies to go back to the drawing board, ensure that once the victims in captivity are released, and draw out an offensive against these bandits. Because if you go to release these bandits and release the victims who are already in captivity, and we're going to have a lot of collateral damage, and nobody wants to lose the innocent lives.
All right.
So I believe that the people should be freed, and the government goes back to the drawing board to drop more.
But for the time being, there's absolutely zero trust in the security forces in Nigeria. We've seen that throughout the past few months with the outcry against the corruption, against the clampdown on human rights activists across the nation. If the police establishment is widely seen as corrupt and inefficient, understaffed, doesn't have the resources to tackle this mammoth task, where should we reset the whole operation? Where should we start? From the local communities?
I think in the short term, that might be the way, the route to take. And I think, especially considering the current mood across the nation, with the general feeling being that President Muhammadu Buhari is giving Nigerians the silent treatment, communities have taken it upon themselves to defend themselves, to protect themselves, to protect their life and property across the board. And I think this is something that's been going on for years. In all fairness to the current administration, in terms of the existence of local policing units or whatever you wish to call them. In the north of Nigeria, you have the local vigilantes known as the Ahelbarra. And years before, we had in the southwestern region, we had the OPC, the Odua People's Congress, and you had the Bakassi boys as well in the east of the country. And what we're seeing at the moment now is a resurgence of these local vigilantes. Essentially, in the east now, you have the Eastern Security Network, the ESN, and I think what we're going to see moving forward is not just we're going to see an increase in the emergence of various vigilante groups to fill the gap that the government's failed to fill in terms of the protection of the lives and properties of Nigerians.
Okay, and yet this is a President Muhammadu Buhari who have a unique opportunity to move forward, take the issue of reform of security apparatus, put an end to instability and armed groups a step further. That didn't happen. What we've seen so far, series of cosmetic solutions, placebos, no going deeper into the heart of the matter. Should we blame him personally for this massive failure which is happening now in Nigeria?
I mean, it is happening under his leadership. So there's not a lot of places to pass the ball to. It really lands on his table. I think first and foremost, there needs to be an honest discussion about the capacity of the Nigerian military, the Nigerian police, and all of the other security agencies to be able to ensure peace and security across the country. And even beyond that, we need to understand what some of what have been the causes of some of their failings. It is only by addressing a problem that you would ever find a solution. But I think that the constant narrative that the president and those under him have tried to push, that the military, the police are at their best and they are winning the war, whether it's against insurgents in the northeast or they're on the top of their game in the northwest is false, and citizens can see through that, and it pushes a lack of trust in him and in his government.
Mike, if you look at your country, I wish you could talk to me from your own past experience as director of Nigeria's State Security Service. Borders with Niger, which are porous, no control whatsoever, weapons being smuggled all the way, active groups operating on the ground affiliated with Al-Qaeda, with Boko Haram, with the Islamic State, bandits taking advantage of the situation, launching daring attacks at the heart of some of the states in the northwestern and the eastern part of the country. This is Nigeria, one of the richest nations on earth. What's happening there?
Well, it's a porous borders actually major challenge. Some of the major challenges we are facing in the country, because you can see people moving in, illegal aliens, but there's little we can do about it because we don't have the technological support to monitor this. And besides, you remember the ECOWAS protocol, which allows free movement of West Africans, our member states. And that's a very big challenge. And without looking decisively to check this influx of aliens, it's going to be a major problem. But besides that, in international relations and all these conspiracy theories, there's no way the aliens can come into Nigeria and operate in isolation with the locals. So we need to look at our security architecture.
Yes.
Look at our intelligence structure and bring out the people who are actually not supposed to be in our country. Get them to serve as deterrents.
Yes. Indeed. But Mike, at the end of the day, you are a rich nation, one of the biggest producers of oil in the African continent and all over the world. With those revenues from oil, you can buy some of the most sophisticated weaponries and also technological devices to monitor the border and to prevent such humiliating mass kidnappings from happening. Mike Ejiofor, Dele-Adedeji and Aniete Iwang, thank you very much indeed for your insight. I really appreciate your time. And thank you too for watching. You can see the program again anytime by visiting our website, aljazeera.com. For further discussion, go to our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/AJ Inside Story. You can also join the conversation on Twitter. Our handle is @AJ Inside Story. From me, Hashem Ahelbarra, and the entire team here. Bye for now.